think a person can ever fully heal from past trauma?
I loved that question when I saw it. And I think it's a tough one because I think, um, again, healing in a way, yes, but healing in the sense like I have a how do you say scar here.
Hmm.
So the wound is healed, but the scar is still there,
Yes.
right? So I think with trauma too, I think for me too, like with this, not just this breakup, but there's other things in my life, I always thought that healing meant that it was gone, that I had no feelings around it anymore, that I would be happy, would not feel any of the sadness anymore. But I've learned that it's not that. It's healing is that it has find that you have in a way been able to give it a place, right? But
Yeah.
it is there. So actually for me, I see it as again, right? That it's not something to get rid of or heal in that way, um but the healing is that you can sit with, if for instance, if I have a memory of that time, I may still get emotional, right? But I
Yeah.
can feel it coming up and it goes again. So I see it as like um, that the trauma, whatever happened to you, is no longer living you in a way, right? So it's not no longer has it doesn't have you in its power anymore. You don't feel powerless anymore, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have effect anymore. And I think
Got it.
that is, and it's so powerful because I always thought happiness, right? We try, we want happiness in our life, and I
Uh-huh.
always thought it meant um, that happiness would mean that you would never feel pain or real sadness. And I think one of my biggest learnings was to realize that the happiness is that I can actually feel the sadness, the pain
Yes.
without the overwhelm. But it's not an absence of pain. Like pain is part of life, but I don't have to suffer from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
100% agree with that statement. Absolutely. Um, what are some steps that you've taken to get to the point where you are now, mentally, emotionally?
Yeah. Yeah. I think in a way I've been lucky. I'm from the Netherlands, and that's where I live now again. And I lived in Ireland for 15 years. But in the Netherlands, even when I was young, it was pretty normal to get help, also professional, if you needed it. So I've never struggled really with reaching out for getting, like even talking to a counselor or something. And I do think uh, that has helped me. So I've in my life, even when I think I was 16 years old when I first spoke with a counselor because I really struggled in school with bullying and then dealing with my parents being separated. So I think that's one of the biggest steps as well, to actually talk to someone when you really need it. And that difference between um, as important as it is to talk to friends and family, I think it can be really, really beneficial to talk someone outside who um, is objective, but also whose job it is to really sort these things out, right? Who won't say, there, it will all be fine, or talk to you like the things you want to hear, who challenge you a little bit to really, you know, deal with what you need to deal with. Um, and I think another big step was really like and this is an interesting one. I've always done a lot around self development, but I think in my younger years, in my 20s, in a way, I did it with the wrong intention, in the sense that I wanted to be good, I wanted to be better. And although it helps when you want to be a better person, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that per se. I think it can sometimes result in all the time seeing what you're not doing right. Um,
Ah.
so I remember a breakthrough, and I can't remember where or how I learned that, but when I read somewhere where it said, um, taking responsibility for your own life, or owning up, owning your happiness or anything else, has nothing to do with taking blame. And for me, that actually caused one of the biggest shifts in my personal development, my spiritual development, that I realized, oh wait, this idea of you choose to be happy, and all these other comments that you hear, because they made me always feel so bad. Because, like, for instance, when I was depressed after the breakup, I always felt, well, what am I doing wrong? Because I don't feel happy. So I'm clearly doing something wrong, because everyone is there, you read it everywhere. It's like, oh, if you want to be happy, you can choose to be happy. And I was like, well, I'm definitely not choosing not to be happy. Surely that's not my choice, right? So if
Yes.
I can see this idea of taking ownership and responsibility, but what am I doing wrong? Because surely then I should now feel happy. And that realization that taking ownership was not about blame. I'm not saying I'm never doing it anymore, but it really was the start of that practice of really seeing myself as the creator of what I'm experiencing, but also realizing that when I experience sadness, or when I experience depression, even, or anything, that it's not my fault.
Got it.
That yes, that I have the power to make choices to change things, but that it's not, oh well, that I feel bad now means that's my fault because I could choose to be happy. But rather than that, to see, yes, I can choose to take steps, but what I feel right now, I'm not to blame for it. I can take responsibility for what I do next, but and that helped. And also, to be honest, that made me more tolerant towards others too. That to let go of this idea of blame within the ownership or
Ah,
responsibility. Yeah.
wow. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.